are listening to The Common Sense Practical Prepper, sponsored by Duct Tape, the real duct tape. It fixes everything, except bad decisions. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America. From border to border, coast to coast, and all ships at sea, here is your host, Keith.
Hey everybody, this is Keith, and you're listening to the Common Sense Practical Prepper podcast for August the 19th, 2026. And tonight, this episode is going to be a little different. We're not breaking down the supply chain. We're not talking about a new skill to learn. Today, we're just dreaming out loud. So I want to talk about something that does not exist yet, but I think it should. A facility like a campus, a place where you show up for 3 days, 5 days, maybe 7 days, and you leave with hands-on experience across the full spectrum of practical preparedness, not just one skill, but all of it. So I'm calling this the Prepper Boot Camp, and I'll walk you through what I think it should look like, and maybe somebody will actually build this thing. Again, no doom and gloom, no zombie apocalypse in this episode either, just a vision for something that could change how people learn to be prepared. So let's first talk about why this does not exist and why I think it should. Again, this is my daydream, so this is why I think it should exist. So here is the current landscape. If you want immersive survival training, you've got options. And some of those are very excellent at what they do, don't get me wrong. Wilderness survival schools, places where you spend 5 days learning how to build shelters, start fires, those are great. But they're focused on being lost in the woods, and that's one scenario out of thousands. You have the Tactical Firearm Academies, Gunsight, Thunder Ranch, Sig Sauer Academy, all world-class instruction, multi-day courses. You live on site, you train all day, but it's all shooting. And that's just one lane of being prepared. You've got homesteading workshops, canning, gardening, raising chickens. Again, just one piece of the puzzle. And then you have community events like Prepper Camp, which I love, just presented there this year, and it's one of the best experiences I've had in this space so far. And Prepper Camp is phenomenal at what it does. The breadth of the topics, the community, the vendor access, meeting people face-to-face who share your mindset. If you haven't been, go. Seriously, it's one of those events that fires you up, connects you with people that you'll stay in touch with for years to come. So if you've been to Prepper Camp, you know how powerful it is to have that many topics and that much community in one place. And if you're taking a wilderness course or a tactical class, you know how much deeper you can go when it's hands-on and immersive. What if someone combines those two things? The expanse of a prepper camp with the depth of a training academy. The community of an event with the immersion of a residential course, not replacing any of them. Just what if they all live together in a single location? So that's the current gap, and it's wide open. A place where you show up for the next several days and you are living preparedness. Full spectrum, eating what you store, drinking the water that you purify, sleeping in what you built or what simulates a grid down scenario, communicating on radios because there's no cell service on the property, running scenarios that combine multiple skills at once because that's how real emergencies work. So in my mind, this is what the property would look like. Here's the layout of the facility. The property. So we're going to need a bunch of acreage, 50 to 100 acres minimum, a mix of terrain, wooded areas, open fields, a water source, creek, pond, or both. Some elevation changes, nothing too crazy. Ideally somewhere in the southeast or Appalachia, where you get all 4 seasons and diverse terrain without extreme conditions that would limit the training calendar. So the campus itself would be divided into 2 different zones. The comfort zone is number 1. This is where you check in, where the classroom buildings are, where you sleep at night, at least for the introductory courses. Think rustic but functional bunkhouse or cabins, a main hall for briefings and meals, running water and electricity, but with the ability to shut it off for grid down simulations. The second zone would be the training zone. This is where the magic happens, and it's designed to simulate real scenarios. A mock neighborhood, a few structures, it doesn't have to be a lot, a few structures that simulate suburban homes. You can practice home gardening, perimeter security, light discipline, noise discipline, gray man movement throughout this residential area. A water station, creek access, pond, rain catchment systems, and a purification lab where you can test every method from boiling to ceramic filters to chemical treatment of water. How about a field kitchen? Outdoor cooking stations, rocket stoves, solar ovens, Dutch ovens, cooking over an open fire. You cook your meals here during your immersive days, and we'll get to that in a second. A communication tower and radio shack, ham radio, GMRS, CB, mesh networks. You learn to set up, operate, and troubleshoot. A medical station for trauma simulation, first aid scenarios, triage practice, fake blood and all. A vehicle bay, basic maintenance, emergency repairs, fuel storage, and vehicle prep. A garden and food forest. So this is where Rick and Jane come in. Not just decorative, active production that feeds into the kitchen. Students participate in the harvest and preservation. I think the food forest would be an absolute terrific addition to this property that doesn't exist, but only in my mind. A land navigation course, compass work, map reading, terrain association, both day and night. A defensive perimeter, not a shooting range, although that would be cool too, but a property you walk and assess for vulnerabilities and create communication plans for. So the infrastructure is the trick. The whole property is wired so the staff can simulate disruptions, kill the power, shut off the water, disable cell service. The campus becomes the scenario. That's what makes it different from a classroom. So the curriculum itself, what you actually learn. So here's where most concepts like this fall apart, in my opinion. They're either too shallow, a taste of everything but mastery of none, or too deep in one particular lane. The key is structured progression that builds on itself. So again, in my mind, this is how I would structure it. Days 1 through 3, everybody takes the same classes, same curriculum, same order. That's your core foundation. It builds team cohesion, gives everybody a shared language, and makes sure that nobody leaves without the essentials. Then days 4 and 5, you pick your track. You choose where you want to go deep based on what matters most to you and where you perceive your gaps are. So for day 1, and this is for everybody, so day 1, 2, and 3, mindset and situational awareness. The mind game comes first, always. Water, sourcing, purifying, storage. Fire, multiple methods. Shelter, principles of thermal regulation, not just how to build a lean-to. Orientation to the facility, safety brief, team assignments. Day 2, sustainment. Food storage, what to store, how to rotate, shelf life reality checks. Cooking without the grid, hands-on meal prep using stored foods and field methods. Food preservation, canning, preserving, freeze-drying, dehydrating. Attendees actually get to taste freeze-dried food after it's been reconstituted. Think scrambled eggs, fruit, and full meals. Because most people have never tried it, and you should know what you're storing before you have to depend on it. Forage walk, identify local edibles. Intro to gardening for food production versus just decorative gardening. So this is what day 3 would look like. Call it security and awareness. Home hardening, door reinforcement, window security, lighting, sight lines, perimeter assessment, walk the mock neighborhood, identify vulnerabilities, gray man principle, movement behavior, reducing your signature. Situational awareness scenarios, read the room exercises in a simulated public space. Intro to the defensive mindset, not a firearms course, but decision making. So after 3 days, Everybody's taken all those classes. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody has a nice, solid foundation. Now you get to choose your electives, your immersive days, days 4 and 5 in this scenario. So track A would be communication and technology, radio operation, ham basics, GMRS, FRS, when to use what. Building a family comms plan, rally points, code words, check-in schedules. Mesh networks and other off-grid tech. Hands-on, set up a full comms network for the property from scratch. Track B, medical and trauma, first aid, stop the bleed, CPR, airway management, trauma simulation, scenario-based with time pressure. Wilderness medicine, what to do when EMS is hours or days away. Hands-on, run a mass casualty triage scenario. Track C, advanced food and homesteading, deep dive into freeze-drying, dehydrating, and long-term canning. Small-scale livestock and garden-to-table systems. Food storage math, feeding your family for 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year. Hands-on, build a food preservation plan and process the food on site. Track D, security and defensive planning, advanced home hardening and property defense, threat assessment, reading your neighborhood for vulnerabilities, night operations, movement, observation, low-light communication. Hands-on, full property security audit and layered defense plan. Day 5, everybody's back together. This is what we would call the integration exercise. Grid down simulation, power went off at midnight. You wake up in the middle of it. Final scenario is team-based. Your group manages water, food, security, comms, and medical with no external support, using what you've learned all week. After action review, what worked, what failed, and what you would do differently. So we do a little graduation, a personalized take-home assessment, and a next step plan for each individual. So that's an intense 5 days. Everyone gets the same foundation. Everyone gets to go deep where they want. And everyone comes back together at the end to put it all together and to test as a team. You could run a 3-day version, just the core days, 5 days, 7 days, 2 weeks. Again, sky's the limit. Because again, I'm just daydreaming this. So let me be clear about what separates this from everything else that's out there. It's not wilderness survival. You're not learning to live in the woods. You're learning to live in your world when systems fail. That's a big difference. Most people's emergency isn't lost in a forest. It's power's been out for 4 days and the grocery stores are empty. This trains you for reality. It's not a gun range, although gun ranges are cool. It's the next step after a conference. So you have events like Prepper Camp, where you get inspired, you get educated, you get connected. This is where you come, like maybe after that, to put those ideas into memory muscle. Every single block has a hands-on component. You build it, you cook it, purify it, you treat it, you navigate it, you communicate through it. Conferences give you the knowledge. Prepper boot camp like this gives you the reps. This is not a doomsday bunker. This is not about buying your way into a fortified compound and waiting for the world to end. This is about building skills that make you capable and confident regardless of what happens. You leave better than you arrived. You're not dependent on a facility that you can't take with you. It's scenario driven. Every skill is taught in context. You just don't learn how to purify water. You learn it because it's 7 a.m. and the taps at the facility have been turned off and your team needs water for the next day, and you've got 90 minutes before the next block of instruction starts. Pressure, consequence, and context, that's how adults learn. It's community building. You train in small teams, you work problems out together, you meet people who think like you, and that network, those relationships, might be worth more than any single skill you learn that week. Because in a real crisis, community is your infrastructure. So Prepper Boot Camp, who is this for? The new prepper, someone who's been watching videos for 6 months and has a shelf full of gear they've never tested. They need hands-on confidence to go from I own a water filter to I purified 3 gallons of water from 3 different sources, and I know how and why this works. The experienced prepper who's been in a silo. They've got food storage dialed in, but they've never touched a radio. Or they shoot every weekend, but couldn't splint a broken arm if they had to. This gives them the full picture. Couples and families. One partner is in preparedness. The other is a little bit skeptical or they seem overwhelmed. A structured, non-threatening environment where you can learn together. This might be the thing that gets the whole household on the same prepping page. Oh, yeah. The corporate team. We can't leave the corporations out. Companies spend tens of thousands of dollars on team building retreats, rope courses, trust falls. What if instead your team spent 3 days learning real skills together under simulated pressure? The leadership lessons would write themselves. Veterans transitioning to civilian preparedness. They've got the mindset, they've got the skills, but applying them in a civilian community family context is different. And that maybe, as I'm making this up, maybe that bridges that particular gap. So could this actually work? And in the interest of full transparency, this would be a massive undertaking. The property alone would be a huge investment. Staffing it with qualified instructors of all these disciplines is not easy. Insurance, liability, permits, all real challenges. But here's why I think it could work. The prepper community is massive and growing. Mainstream acceptance of preparedness has exploded in the last 3 to 5 years. People are spending money on courses, gear, and going to events. You could start smaller than the full vision that I have. Maybe it's 20 acres and 3 buildings to start, a 3-day format with a focused curriculum, prove the model, build reputation, and then as demand grows, you could potentially expand. Revenue streams beyond tuition, gear sales on site, test it, then you buy it is a possibility. Branded content and media, film the scenarios, YouTube, podcast, corporate bookings, certification programs, if that's even a thing, membership model for repeat visitors with advanced courses, an affiliate partnership that would donate gear and other material. And look, Prepper Camp sells out. Firearm academies have wait lists. Wilderness survival schools charge between $2,000 and $5,000 for a 5-day course, and they fill up pretty quick. So the demand is out there. This is a full spectrum version that I don't believe exists yet. So that's my little daydream, a place where you show up and someone who's been thinking about preparedness and leaves as someone who's been doing it. Not theory, no YouTube, not gear collecting, hands on the tools, feet on the ground, skills in your head. And maybe it'll happen. Maybe someone listening says, Keith, I have 150 acres that I have nothing better to do with. I could do this. And if that's you, then good on you. I think that would be a fantastic endeavor. Maybe it becomes a podcast series where we develop the concept together. Maybe it stays a dream. But I just wanted to put this out here because I think the community deserves something like this. So what do you think? Would you show up? Is this the craziest thought you've ever heard of? Would you spend time with your family there? What would you add to the curriculum? Again, I just pulled this out of my butt. I was just daydreaming the other day on the way home from Prepper Camp. It was a 5.5-hour drive, and I had to do something to keep myself awake. practicalpreppodcast@gmail.com. If you haven't, folks, please subscribe, like, share, leave a review. We've been doing absolutely fantastic on the number of downloads and the reach that you are providing for this podcast. So please just keep doing what you're doing. All right, folks, as always, please be careful out there. Take care of one another. And until next time.
You've been listening to The Common Sense Practical Prepper. Subscribe, like, drop a review. Over and out.